Yep, recording now.
Recording.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Naomi White. I live in Brisbane, Australia. I have 2 teenage kids, a dog and a cat. It's autumn over here, heading into winter. And welcome to our little experiment with my 3 very good friends around the world. I have Patty in Italy, I have Raffi in England, and I have Patty in California. We'll go around and introduce ourselves, but this is our experiment to help us make sense of what's going on in the world. And we've called our experiment Love in the Time of Corona. And because ultimately there is too much fear out there in the world, and the antidote to that, we believe, is love. We are here to share our experiences. We are here to talk about topics. We are talking from our perspective only, but we hope that we may give you some insight and help you make your way through this. So I will come back and talk a little bit about me, but I wanted to throw to some of my friends overseas to introduce themselves. So perhaps if I could throw to you, Raffi, because you're on the screen at the moment. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Raffi. I'm in London. I'm Italian. I'm a nutritional therapist. I have 2 teenage children at home at the moment, dealing with 2 teenage children, a husband and a dog, and a horse somewhere not too far from here. So yes, we are going through a tough time at the moment because here in England the situation is a bit uncertain, I would say. There are not very clear directives. The government is not really telling people what to do. There's a bit of fear, a bit of uncertainty. So that's what I'm feeling at the moment. I really don't know if there's going to be enough food for everyone, because the supermarket shelves are empty and people go around looking at each other, not knowing what to think, not knowing what to do. There is panic buying in the morning. There are huge queues that go around blocks. And I don't feel like going at 6 in the morning, queuing up. So I go in the late morning to supermarkets and everything is gone. So that's the thing that is making me anxious mostly. The panic that everyone feels. It's kind of, I don't want to give into it. I don't want to panic buy. I don't want to queue up, but I feel it when I see the empty shelves. So I'm dealing with this feeling at the moment, this fear, and I'm asking my friends to kind of help me figure out how to deal with it. Okay.
Patty in California, would you like to add to that and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Patty Leegh. I live in Palo Alto, California, which is south of San Francisco. It's the heart of Silicon Valley. Many of you might know that. In California right now, we're under a mandated, which is a heavily suggested shelter in place, which means basically we're to stay at home except for essentials. And essentials are things like going to the supermarket, healthcare exams. All businesses are closed except markets, hospitals, of course. I think there's some hardware stores open, even laundromats, pharmacies. You know, I have to say, I have been to the grocery store, and we're not experiencing any shortage of food at the moment. I think we're a few days in front of where England is, what Raffaella just described. We had some panic buying earlier in the week. And that was before the shutdown happened, and I think there was a lot of uncertainty. But since then, the governors and our president have said there's no shortage of the food supply chain and deliveries at this point in time, and that these stores would continue to be open, but we're to stay at home and you know, just be here for 2 weeks, just so we can all quarantine to try to stop the curve, to try to prevent the U.S. from getting where we see in some of the other countries, particularly Italy. So absolutely, we do see some fear. You know, we do see a little bit of panic buying. The particular area that I live in is a very educated area. So, you know, I think that some people, myself included, were kind of able to see beyond the fear. We're hoping that the measures that are put in place are going to work. We realize, at least I realize, it's not necessarily about my risk of getting coronavirus or necessarily my family's, but we need to do this from a public health perspective. So for instance, when I go and I walk my dog, normally we would stay on the same sidewalk and pass people and say hello. Now we're staying 6 feet from other people. So, and we say hello. So I'm experiencing a sort of civilized shutdown right now, and a lot of uncertainty. But I personally live in hope that what we're doing is actually the right thing.
Thank you. Patty in Italy, would you like to add to that? Introduce yourself.
Of course. Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Marinucci. I'm Italian, and I actually live in Italy. And I am fine. I'm doing good. My family's doing good. All my friends are doing good. So I wanted to reassure everyone that it's not as bad as it seems. And we're dealing with the emergency quite well. I found out that Italians are also disciplined people because we are very disciplined outside the supermarket and respecting a distance between each other, wearing masks and gloves. And there's no shortage at all of food. The only shortage we have is alcohol and other things, masks, face masks. We don't have that because they're all been sent to hospitals, of course. So we don't have that anymore. People is making their own with whatever they find. But I wanted to tell you my impression about all this thing is that, as you probably all know, the majority of the epidemic is located in the industrial part of Italy, the richest part of Italy. Three very rich areas in the north. Probably these are the areas where the majority of pollution is, smog and stress is. In the center and in the south of Italy, we are respecting isolation as much as we can. And I know a lot of people who's staying at home without seeing anyone. My mom, that's 80, she's not going out for no reason at all. She's been home for a couple of weeks now. And sometimes when I go for shopping, I buy for her as well. But we have also civil protection that helps older people. They go to their house and buy them stuff and bring food home for them, so everything's under control. Raffaella was telling me before, because I normally I don't listen to news. I don't like to listen to news. I don't really believe in everything they say. I want to have other perspectives. She was telling me that today apparently we've reached the peak of deaths, and that's what they were saying in the past days, that the peak would have been this weekend and probably the beginning of the following week. I think we're doing great. I think that we've been very well, the government organized everything very well, giving directives, isolating. Personally, I think that's even too much, and we're expecting other restrictions. That's what they have announced, other restrictions, because now if we want, we can go for a walk, for instance, on the beach. I live on the beach, so there's also people walking, and it's good to breathe some good air and to make some movement, to walk a little bit. But we expect that the government will say not to do that anymore. And you've heard that, Rafu. Yeah,
I think they might have already said that you're
yeah.
not allowed.
So every day I'm at home, and I have the chance to speak with a lot of people from everywhere in the world, and that's a good thing. I have a lot of time, and so I speak to people. I've also a friend in Milan, and he actually worked at Malpensa Airport. He's doing good. It's totally healthy. We have a lot of time. We talk, and he tells me news from Milan. And personally, I think that the measures that have been taken are a little bit too much, because it's you know, it's very it's a very strong virus, though it's just an influenza virus. And I was telling Naomi before that kids are healthy, and the majority of the people is healthy, no symptoms at all. Unfortunately, as it happens with every influenza every year, the people with prior conditions are the ones who risk more. People with depressed immune system. So that's why probably we're talking about love, because love is the only thing that can boost our immune system together with other things. So now I would like, Rafi, what do you think about that? Do you have any?
I just wanted to ask you, the three of you, because you seem to be in a better place than me. You all of you seem to be calm, and all of you feel protected by the government. All of you are in a good mental space. Yesterday, I know a nurse, an NHS nurse, who doesn't feel very well. I mean, I saw her. I was doing something in the countryside in Surrey, and I saw this nurse who I know, and she had a cold, and she told me that they did everything. She probably had a sore throat. She didn't specify, but she wasn't looking well. So I don't know her other symptoms. I could just see, she was, and she said that she keeps doing her job without masks, because they don't have masks. The NHS, I mean, in particular, I don't know if it's just her hospital, her practice, I don't have details, but she works for the NHS, which is a national health service, and she had no masks. So I gave her some of my own masks.
Wow.
Because she didn't. So I think that contributes, that and the queues and the empty shelves contribute to people's anxiety, and it's a self-feeding situation. So the three of you, tell me what you do to keep calm. You're in a good space because you're three, wonderful ladies. But also, I think governments are something right. I know they're doing something right in Italy. For some people, they might be exaggerating. I think they don't have a choice, because the healthcare system is overwhelmed. So that's just
in the north. That's the situation in the north, right? You're right. But Rafi, I think we all have ups and downs. I have ups and downs too. But the only difference probably is that it started before here, so I've had the time to get used to it. At the beginning, it wasn't easy at all. I mean, if you decide to be at home by yourself, if it's your decision, it's easier. But when the government tells you can't go out, it's hard. It's hard. People are panicking for this, and people are panicking a lot because of economy.
Right.
So can I talk to perhaps I can talk to the Australian situation?
Yeah, sure.
So last night we surpassed, or the last news I saw before I went to bed, so it's Sunday morning in Australia, was that we've now surpassed the 1,000 mark of confirmed cases. We haven't had that many deaths yet. I think it's under 10. But really interesting things happened yesterday. So the Prime Minister has been very good at addressing the nation every single day and making really clear, decisive decisions around relief packages, supporting small businesses, supporting families, making sure that we don't end up in a very challenging civil situation with hundreds of thousands of people out of work at the same time, et cetera, et cetera. So there's been some really good decisions made, and the directive is that if you are unwell, if you've returned from overseas, you quarantine yourself. If you've been in contact with a confirmed case, you quarantine yourself. If you've got any symptoms, you self-isolate. You're only entitled to testing if you've come back from overseas or you've been in close contact with a confirmed case. So if you don't fall into those categories, you just kind of figure it out yourself unless you go to hospital. What's really interesting for me, though, is, I don't know, you may not have seen it on the news. I think it's hit the global news. Bondi Beach in Sydney, which is one of the most famous beaches in Australia, yesterday looked like you've never seen so many people. Like, it was just jam-packed. So much so that they sent the police down there to clear it, because it's like, people, what the hell are you doing? And I live in inner city Brisbane, and all I could hear around me last night were parties, like huge parties.
Oh, wow.
It's like no one is taking it seriously. And this is the Australian thing. It's like, yeah, we're really scared and we're really fearful, but she'll be right. You know, we'll just head out. So I think we're going to come to a point really soon where the government may step in and go, we tried to treat you like adults, and now we're going to lock this place down, and it'll be dire. And we have a think tank in Australia called the Grattan Institute, and they put out a report yesterday about the 3, what they called end games. You know, one is flatten the curve, which is what we're trying to do. 2 is track and trace, which we're also trying to do. But the third end game, which is the one they preferred, was to shut the place down for about 2 months. And then, and only then, will we have a fighting chance of getting back to normal life in Australia, not globally, but in Australia. If we don't do that, then this thing's going to drag on for 12 months. And we can only do this, and I think I think places like Ireland can do this, and maybe the UK can do this, because we're an island. Whereas I think Europe can't really do that because you got all the border. So yes, the supermarket aisles are getting cleared out. We're seeing appalling behaviour in some parts, not everywhere. But there was a case last week where a man walked into a supermarket and pushed an elderly shopper over to take her toilet roll or whatever she was. I mean, some ridiculously disgusting behaviour. We're seeing fights in supermarkets. And now this isn't everybody. Counter to that is we're seeing acts of incredible kindness, and I think that's going to start to grow. But I was talking to Patrizia before we started the call, and and I was saying I was watching a Carolyn Mice video this morning, and she was saying if there was one thing that highlighted the need to put we over me, it's this virus. It's indiscriminate. It's uniting the world. Race, gender, age, there's no class, there's no status, we're all one. And when I've watched the news, Rafi, I find it, I find I do get pulled down, and I can feel my energy getting down, but I am holding on to the view that we will all be fine, and if we remain positive for the future and we do the right thing for ourselves and our communities, that will come through it. I don't know, it's just a mindset thing for me. What's everybody else doing? Patty in California, would you like to talk?
I think that you and I are very similar in that we're really, trying to keep a positive mindset. Yesterday my husband had a little bit of a meltdown because between the stock market, between what's happening in his business, just between, he has financial responsibility for our family, and he was not in a good place at all. And I understand that. So as Patrizia said before, we are going to probably swing on a pendulum, but to the extent that we can, try to, as we have to stay here at home, and as things become more and more locked down, and as testing increases and the number of cases increases, and we're going to listen to the news and it's going to seem worse and worse, we have to, at some level, sort of believe that, there's some higher thing that's happening here, and we have to remain hopeful. We have to remain hopeful, and to the extent that we can, bring in whatever higher sources that we all turn to, or positive things that we do for ourselves, such as exercise, whatever it is. Everyone has something different. Meditation, binge watching television, you know, whatever it is, we'll have to do the things to take care of ourselves and you know, try to keep a positive mindset. Sounds simple, but it's more important now than ever.
I think also,
sorry, Rafi, you go.
Also, even just doing something like this, which is a virtual meeting with friends, I think that's something that creates a lot of good energy. I already feel a lot better than at the beginning. So something
You're
like
right.
this.
Your dog, Zala, looks better also.
She looks better, doesn't
Yeah,
very relaxed.
Animals. They're so peaceful. You know what's really funny? My cat, who usually likes to be outside as much as possible, and I know there's guidance around keeping your cats indoors, and we try to as much as possible, but she's always indoors at night, but she always slips through our legs. She loves sitting in the garden. When we open the door, she slips through our legs. Anyway, all she wants to be inside with us at the moment. She just wants to sit on us. It's incredible. So I don't know what the animals are picking up on, but it's different behaviour out of her. Anyway,
Interesting.
Patrizia, do you want to weigh into this?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Yes. What are you doing to feel better?
Oh, well, my passion, the thing that really puts me in the zone, let's say, is singing. I love singing. Yeah. So I also.
I think beautiful voice.
You remember, Rafi?
Yes.
I sing all the time. Are you there?
Yes.
I can't see anyone. Oh, all right. So I also have my microphone and my speakers downstairs, everything. So I sing. I was also thinking of starting playing the piano again, which I haven't done for years. And another thing that I do is meditate. Meditating means not being in absence. Not only that, being in absence of thoughts, it also means thinking and visualizing beautiful things that I like doing, that I love doing, and I think of them as I am living in that very moment. The other day, for instance, I was on the sofa and I was just thinking of myself on a beautiful catamaran in the Caribbean. And I just felt like being there.
Yeah.
And this made me feel so good. And so, you know that our minds do not discern between reality and fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we imagine something, our brain thinks it's real, and also the chemistry in our body changes, and we start producing those well-being hormones. And those well-being hormones are good for our immune system. And a thing that I never do is watching the news, and that helps a lot. Really, it helps a lot. I try to speak with people that are also on the same wavelength as I am. I avoid as much as possible to talk with people that are panicking.
Right.
Because we need to keep our vibration high if we want to do something good for the others. I mean, if I go down, I can't help anyone. You know what I mean?
I'm a nutritional therapist. So I have clients here, and I have just a few clients in Italy. And amongst my clients in Italy, there are some that are really down at the moment, because there are a lot of people in Italy that are living this situation not as well. So for my job, like a bit like you, the rest of you, I need to look after them. I need to bring them up, and at the moment I need to be a support for them. So it's negative energy, and I need to bring them up. And today, for the first time, I couldn't answer to one of them, and I don't know how to place myself. What do? I want to be there for them. They need me, but there is a point where I can't anymore.
And you shouldn't. No.
I draw the line and just.
Well, Rafi, you know what I think? I think that everyone has their own path, and if they're ready to listen, probably they would have already listened to you. This is my point of view. And you come first. Your health comes first.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. You can't help anyone if you're down or if your vibration is low. So first think about yourself. When you're feeling good, then you think to others.
Yeah, because I had enough
to this
till a couple of days
You're
ago.
not garbage.
Now I don't anymore. So my energy, I need to start looking after myself, because until 2 days, and now that's a point where I need to start refilling myself with things like this. Talking to you guys, that's very good for me.
Yeah, whatever makes you feel good.
I find getting myself into gratitude is so important. That helps my mood. So I think about it. I think I'm so lucky compared to others in the world. I live in this incredible country. I have a roof over my head. I have my beautiful children around me. I've got pets. I've got my parents are both here. I've got all these people that love me. I've got all these opportunities. I've got money in the bank. You know, like, it doesn't get much better than this. And we will get through that. And getting in my heart and getting out of my head and into my heart. And I work with the corporate world with executives as an executive coach is one of the things that I do. And for me, it's like throwing out the script of what you've been trained in and what your work is with these individuals and actually speaking from your heart. So falling back on who you are as a person and less on who you are as a job. And what I know about you, Rafi, and one of the things, the many things that I love and admire about you is you are such a warm, compassionate person with so much depth and feeling. And so yes, you're a nutritionist, that's your job, but what does Rafi the person bring, and how do you bring the two together so that you can help people get into a heart space and out of their head, so you might help them through. Just my thoughts. What do you think, Patty, in California? I'll give you a chance to speak.
Well, I think we were all talking before a little bit about the universal meaning of this, and everyone has, you know, a different perspective. You know, we talk about, oh, this was really meant for people to stop being so busy and be home and reacquaint themselves with their family members, or what it's like to actually be still. You know, there's other people that are saying, wow, look, you know, in China for the first time, they can see the sky because there's no pollution there, because they had to shut down so many of the factories. I've heard that, you know. So, you know, through this all, we kind of, we see people, you know, kind of seeing that maybe there's this higher universal meaning behind this. So I think it's different for everyone, but, you know, coming back to presence, right? Being actually present in the moment, not being so busy, heart-centered, compassion, love, all of these things that are actually so simple kind of come to mind. And I don't think that we really experience those things until we're still. So for those of us that have a stillness practice, these are, and I think most of the people on this phone do, these are things that we can achieve. But for the rest of the world that hasn't had a stillness practice, well, they're having one now, sort of whether they like it or not. So any rate, just kind of putting it out there as a higher meaning for, you know, these things which are the situation, which is difficult. I don't mean to minimize the situation for anyone that, you know, is sick and has family members that are sick. And I'm just kind of saying for the rest of the world.
Losing everything and can't really buy their next meal. That's the other drama.
Absolutely. And, you know, so many people, I'm sorry, one more thing, have lost their jobs here. You know, massive layoffs in the restaurant, the entertainment, even the sport, you know, massive layoffs. We're clearly heading into a recession, you know, perhaps globally. So, you know, economic indicators, it's not good.
Well, I think everybody in the world, I think the world is definitely going into a recession. We're seeing that now. I mean, the press even here is talking about depression. I don't know whether,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I don't know whether that's a reality or not. I think the opportunity is to get through as quickly as possible if we can, but if people
Yeah.
don't expect the need to self-isolate, then this could just go on forever. But, you know, it's really interesting. Like, I work for myself, and you can see, like with the corporate world, you can see everything just cancelling. And there's a lot of people, the gig economy in Australia has exploded over the last several years, and I think it has globally as well. So more and more people rely on job to job to job. We don't have sick pay, we don't have holiday pay, etc. So if all the work dries up, it is this case of, oh my God, where's my next dollar going to come from?
Yeah.
But I think this is an opportunity to find a path through this, to think about it a little bit differently. Think about what is it that the world needs right now, and it might be something completely different. And I just have to hold. I just have this innate knowing that it's just going to be fine. I don't know why I think that. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I just think it's going to be fine. And I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Look, I think if somebody.
No, it's not.
Communities will come together, the suburbs, I think, certainly in Australia, what we call the suburbs, if we're all confined to our houses, I'm seeing it already. There's Facebook groups starting up to save the suburb, to save all the restaurants and the cafes and everything else that are starting to feel the strain already. So last night I was going to cook dinner, but I ordered pizza from the restaurant up the stairs. Because yes, I
Nice.
need money, but I'd rather save the restaurant, you know. So I think the more we can just keep moving forward with trying to help those that are, you know, losing their jobs and don't have enough food on the table, we'll find a way through it. That's the way I think. It may be naive, but it's what I believe.
I don't think it's naive. I think that, as I was telling you before, we're at a crossroad globally, and everything is going to change. So if we get stuck to what it was before, for sure we're not going anywhere. We're going towards a new balance. So whenever we're going towards a new balance, we need to lose the previous one. So we're unbalanced right now. That's why there's a lot of confusion around, because we're not seeing yet which way is the best way to go, right? But I'm sure that if we keep united, and if we keep on exchanging love and informations and good feelings, we're gonna find the new way and the new balance together, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything anybody else wants to add? We might end the recording.
I think that was a really good wrap up that Patricia said.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll end.
I love you. I love you, ladies. That was great.
Okay.
We should do it often.
We should.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I'd love to.
Okay. I'm just going to end the recording.